Well, hey there, y'all. This is your Sensei Al Bob, your griot of the Dreamy Dreamland Sensei Al Bob channel. And as you can see, fall has come to the lake. And I hope you're all doing well. And I am, as I always say right off the bat, don't believe anything I'm saying. I'm just a griot. I'm just telling you a story. Right? So, so I was listening to Cordell West. It's a really good radio show called Alternative Radio. And so if you go to alternativeradio.org, you'll find out what radio stations it's playing. And my radio station, about 60 miles from, is WETSU. And they got some pretty good shows. They got this thing called New Dimensions. That's a good show. They have a really good show about Appalachian. You know? But anyway, so this is what I've been thinking about lately. So I'm going to read what they turned the clocks back this morning or last night, whenever they did. I didn't quite know it. So I woke up thinking it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. It was really only 7. So I, you saw John playing one of my little cassette tapes. I record the radio, right? And I got tapes that go back 20, 30 years. So it's a really good historical reference for me to know, who is, telling you the truth, right? Because things change a lot. So anyway, so I wrote this, right? And I want to read it to you. So this is what I wrote in about an hour. Because I knew this place wasn't going to open for another hour and a half. So I sat down and I was listening to Cordell, and this is what I got from him. Okay? So the header for this unexplored life is a life not worth living, right? Piety, the prophetic fire. The unexplored life is a life not worth living, right? So, starting off. Prestigious priests and scholastics have been incarcerating you in chapter and verse since you can remember first. They tell you you must seek their truth by challenging assumptions about your empathy for the other, with raising their most peckish question, who are you to question them? For they represent the true truth. They tell you they have the power to manifest the pernicious, toxic, materialistic mud puppet illusionary reality of their God and cause you a whole lot of hurt in this life and the next. Does this sound like a loving God? And why does he need money? And why does he need political power? And why does he need an army? And why is he a he and not a her or something unknowable? If we do not explore our life, it is not a life worth living. Plato said that, right, in his discourse. We live in a moment of critical opportunity. You have been told you live in a world of scarcity, and you better get yours before the doggy dog gets it before you. I want to I want to unsettle you. I want to say something that makes you reevaluate what you're doing with your life at this moment. For we find ourselves on the battlefield of our soul's revolutionary hiatus. So, anybody there? Let's see. Yo. Well, seems like the chat works, and there's 6 of you there. So, again, more thumbs up. Subscribe, hit that bell, go to my the dude awake 42 at Gmail, leave me a message, and or send me. I have my PayPal there, right? And it's hey there, Graham. Late again, Al. Well, I just started, so no problem. Love it out, right? Okay. We live in a moment of critical opportunity. You have been told you live in a world of scarcity, and you better get yours before the doggy dog gets it before you. I want to unsettle you. I want to say something that makes you revolt what you are doing with your life at this moment, where we find ourselves on the battlefield of our soul's revolutionary piety. Piety is not a blind obedience to authorities. Piety is not critical indifference to being stuck to cultural prejudicial belligerent beliefs just because we've been culturally programmed to do so. Piety is the acknowledgement in the supernatural in all our relations that there is a spiritual wind at our back that propels us towards a life of love's integrity, honesty, and love's co-creative grace. This sublime dependence that is faith in love's co-creativity, a climate that controls our ego's market-driven saleability, like slaves on the block, where people are most concerned with being the next spectacle, the next image of adoration, the next exemplar of success. This slavery reinforces the egocentric, self settled narcissism of the mercantile establishment of the fashionable fascist soul, where taste in the fashionable thing creates the next human holocaust. To reject this taste in fascist fashionable thing, we begin with being happy. Being happy is not being self. Being happy is not being about yourself. Being happy is not about no, being happy is about being about the other. Your life is not so much about what you can do for yourself, but what your life can mean to someone else. Generosity of forgiveness is the freedom of love's unconditional, universal emancipation of the spiritual consciousness, where we are perpetually happy for what we can do for someone else by making them happy. Having you talking smack to me can't bring me down because I am happy, being happy. Love's creation is cause it just is what we are meant to do. For being happy is the only truth of love's co-creation that we can share with all our relations. Being happy is what makes me clap to a song along with a stranger. Then we smile and realize we are friends, even if we aren't the same tribe, for it makes us happy because it is just what we are meant to do. So, how spiritually revolutionary are you feeling? Do you have a happy, piety bone in your body? You think to yourself, being happy can't be that easy. That's your problem. You're thinking of yourself rather than being present with how you feel in happy communion with love's co creation in all your relations. I want you to close your eyes and breathe in consciousness deeply, 20% more than your robot autonomous self does. And be with love's co creation, great I am that it is. And breath and breathe out 30%. All that crap you've been told yourself to be. There's a lot to unpack from this little paragraph. First, how does one breathe in consciousness? Well, what is consciousness? It is. Wait a minute, you say. You can't define one thing I don't really understand with something I never heard of. And I say, you're not being too spiritually revolutionary. Remember, I first said close your eyes and breathe in consciousness deeply. That is by cutting down all the irrelevant data of your meat puppet coarse limited senses. You will find a doorway to perception that you were never told or knew that was there. And once you walk through that door, everything changes. For you wake up to who you are, and you no longer can be lied to. For it is clear to you that there is only one truth in your reality, and that is love's co creation, is all that is. So, what is the great I am? The great I am is all that is. Now you say, there you go again, explaining something I don't understand with that thing I don't understand. And I say, you can't know something by being below the overstanding. That is, you can't see over the mountaintop by standing in the valley. Okay? So I wrote that in about an hour. And that was the first shot at it. Meaning, and I'm only a third into what I really want to talk about. So, yo, G, sweetheart. Hey, buddy. You there? Hey, buddy.
I'm here.
You're there.
Yeah, my son's playing them all with some other kids. What's happening with you?
Well, I'm at one of my places to make a phone call. I'm doing a live chat, and you are live. Say hi to the family.
Hello, friends.
Right. This is my good buddy, Reverend Jeff. Thank you, Hudson. And so I just wrote something about piety. And I just read, I'm not finished writing it. I wrote about a page and a half, and I read it to the audience. So it's up there on this live chat I'm doing right now. And tomorrow, I'm going to be at another phone signal. So why don't I try and touch base with you then?
Give me a shout,
right.
Okay? And thank you for sharing that virtue.
Yep,
but over and out, and it's so good to hear your voice out.
Go take a look at it, and I will call you probably in the morning-ish. So, okay?
That sounds great. You take good care.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my buddy Reverend Jeff, and that guy, he's a great person. He was a soldier. I mean, he was in every branch of the military, right? And he was stone cold, warrior, right? He fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. Then he got blown up, and then he got sent home, and he went to, he became a parson, a reverend, and then it went back into harm's way, and he got blown up again. and he didn't like stay in the back. He was out in the field, right? And he got in trouble for that, right? Because he had piety. That guy really vibrates piety. Great stuff. Can I talk about Bill Cooper? I can talk about Bill Cooper. And Bill, it's the difference between my reverend friend and Bill Cooper. They're the same guy, right? They're both warriors, both really honest people, both guys who have piety that represent what I just read and wrote. But Bill Cooper, it was almost like he was destined to die under the gun. He didn't die out in the field, so he kept pushing the envelope. So I got to know Bill just after he wrote Behold the Pale Horse. And he was like going on speaking things, and he would speak so I was part of this group out of the UN. We had our little NGO, and out of it were a number of other entities that were a little more esoteric. And one of them was the U.S. Psychotronic Society, which was a group of scientists and ladies in muumuus. And we were scientifically, because it kind of came out of my work I did at Duke in the paranormal with the, SEAL Corporation, out of LA, right? And the SEAL Navy guys came out of the SEAL Corporation. And they were a DARPA, CIA, NSA cutout of the hidden hand to build a super soldier. And I kind of glancing met Bill there at a conference. I mean, this is way back in the 60s, right? 60s, late 60s, early 70s, when he was still in uniform, right? And like I said, it was a glancing at this conference, met him, talked to him a little bit, but energetically looked at him and said, "Mom, this guy is not a happy chappy." And I didn't push the envelope. And then, 8 years or so later, bingo, he writes this book, and then he's on this speaking tour. And Clarence, our president, got a hold of him. And so this was back in the day. David Icke now has these lectures, and he has 15, 20,000 people at it. Bill Cooper, there are about 11 of us, right? So we would have them in this apartment building that had a basement, that had a community room right across from Lincoln Center. And it was a pretty expensive kind of place. And Clarence lived there, and he was the president of the co-op, so he could do whatever he wanted. So we used to have our meetings there. And Bill showed up, and he gave us, he had his book. He was signing for anybody. And anyway, so there's only 11 of us. And so after he gave us a little speech and we had a few questions, we went across the street to, Watering Hall. Yeah, that was pretty nice, and sat down. And again, Clarence, had his in there. So we went to a back room, and, the 15 or so of us sat around and had drinks and food. And Bill told us war stories. And I said, Bill, I met you at Duke. He goes, you were with the SEAL Corporation? I said, well, kind of. And he was trying to rack his brain, but he couldn't he remembered being there, but not me. But I told him what he looked like and what was going on and all the above. And he said, yeah, that was when I was my most troubled, when I was stumbling across truths, because he had been read in. See, that was part of his problem, was that he got read in. And that's why they went after them. And guys like me who've been around but never got read in because they didn't want to be read in, basically, they leave you alone, right? I'm not, so I do this thing. But you know, 7 of you watch, So Bill was really he was a sweet teddy bear. So he had this warrior side and sweet teddy bear, especially around his kids and grandkids. He was the sweetest. And one time I went to the West Coast and looked him up and hung out with him. And that was at least a good 5, 8 years before he got shot. But he didn't have to get shot. He just kept pushing the envelope, and he was taking it personally. See, and that's the thing. You can't take any of this personal, right? What you have to be is in service to love's co-creation. Now, he had that in him, you know, but he was still taking it personally. So you can't wear your ego on your sleeve. Is there anyone I didn't know? I'm sure. But thing is, where I live now, if I grew up like all the people who are, I've known for 20 years around here, they've never left this place. They travel the world. I was involved in a ton of different things, all different. I mean, if I stayed in the same kind of bailiwick, no, I was an artist, I was a this, I was a that, Thank you, handsome. And I'll take those chocolates. And can you give me a to-go, coffee to go, and a glass of ice to go? Anyway, well, DMT, the only DMT I need is the stuff my brain makes. And you can go anywhere you want with meditation. So Graham, have you gone and looked at, man, I got probably over 700 shows. Have you gone, and I suggest to everyone to get a dartboard and throw darts at it, and whatever 3 numbers you can get out of throwing darts at a dartboard, go look at that show. If you get 001, look at the first show. If you get 112, look at 100. I have almost, right? And they're all kind of different, But the commonality is that every show I do, before I do it, I go into shamanic state. I'm your shamanic griot, right? I'm your shamanic psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologic alchemist griot. So the real deal is that all those shows, I must have 50 or so. Thank you, my friend. Okay. So there's probably at least 100 guided meditations. Right? Now, it's hard for me to do a guided meditation from a restaurant like this because I kind of when I do it, I push my field out like into the screen and to you, right? Well, if I did that in this restaurant, all these people here would be like, right? Thanks, sweetie. And that lady who just gave me my check wouldn't be happy. She's happy that I come here. That's when I do. She told me that their profit margin goes up by 20%. So they'll let me sit here all day long nursing a cup of coffee. And they give me a nice little meal, like the Al Bob special, for $12, right? And I always add 2 for the server. So I can get out of here under $15, which I can afford. Anything over $20 a meal, I can't afford. So, Bill Cooper. So, the other thing is he was forced to do a bunch of things that he did not feel good about. And so he wanted to make amends. And you can't quite make amends for something you did by trying to relive it and do it better. Thing is to, in your life, always move forward, always share love, co-creation, and always be happy. Now, Bill was a fun-loving guy. He was a happy-go-lucky guy, but he could get pretty sanguine too. Now, I never get sanguine. Now I get serious, but I don't get stagnant, right? So again, I talk about the window of opportunity, right? And that in the next 14 months we have great opportunity. And the thing I just read, it's gonna be 3 or 4 pages long. I keep talking about, the alternative aesthetic, right? And the traveling video art circus. And there are a couple of people there. We're talking about getting their bus together and coming and get me in the next few weeks. And we're gonna go on the road. Well, that would be great. And now if all of you folks who live in America could get a hold of me at the dude awake 42 at Gmail, we can come visit you, right? Especially if you live in a town that has a college, that we could go there and put on our show and get them to pay us, right? So that's the plan. And it's starting. You can see it's starting to be. Today's the day they turn the clocks back, so the days are going to be shorter and get shorter and shorter. Around here, at the longest day of the year, the sun starts to go down around 3:30 in the afternoon. So I need to not be here. So if any individual wants to get me and take a road trip, we could do a travel log blog, and it would be interesting. And I'm tell you, we'd probably make. I just can't do it. My car is, it's okay for me to go between here and Virginia. A journey of about 70 to 200 miles, my car can kind of make. But at any minute, I can be dead on the side of the road. So I can't, my car, until I get like $400 or $500 to dump into my car to bring it up to snuff, not going to be too good. So that's where I'm at. Hey, Banana. So everyone should go back and watch the past shows, right? Everyone should go and like Dragon. Now, Dragon is a great guy. I think he's up from Canada. And he actually, when I had about 300 shows, went through them and put them on thumb drives, right? And sent them to me. He sent me thumb drives and drawings of things that I talked about when he was 11. He's 30-something years old, and he had these visions, and he drew them. Like he drew going through the door, going over the bridge of the Id, going to the old crone's farm, right? He did it at 11, and he sent it to me when he was in his 30s, and he sent me a number of these drawings and the thumb drives, and $5 and maybe $10 in Canadian money, 5 in paper and some coins. And I stuck the paper in my wallet as a good luck piece. But then mysteriously, they went missing. Very similar to the box that the canary in the coal mine showed you, right, of my grandparents, and the personal letter that he read. So I don't know where those thumb drives went off to, or those drawings that were just amazing. But if the canary in the coal mine starts to show them on this channel, then we'll know where they went to. So I can't say that was where they went to, but I can't find them. I've looked pretty seriously, but who knows? They could have fallen out of my pockets, or and I'm a homeless guy, And the beauty of being homeless is that it's not that you don't have a place to go. It's not that there's any of the above. It is that you got nothing to lose. It's like that Janis Joplin song, freedom's something that it's something more that you don't have to lose, And so that's why I was writing about piety, because piety is the thing you don't lose, right? Yep. Yeah. It's good to see somebody. I mean, there's 9 of you watching and only 2 of you chatting. But there's 351 of you who are part of the cadre. But there's 40,000 people who actually watch this stuff, right? And they're looking at it. This one person said, "Oh, I keep it on all day long. It's like better than listening to the radio. It's like I'm their wallpaper, which is okay. I'm somatically getting into their frame, and so maybe something will change. So well, Graham, on a cultural sense, it's been lost since Lucifer lost his crap and blew up, blew heaven up like a little child and created the Big Bang. That was what the Big Bang was. Lucifer going because the universe, is not linear. It's not Big Bang, everything going that way. Sorry, nope. That is just us in the sandbox. Right? Physicists have kind of defined that, 99.99901% is dark matter. We don't know what it is, right? That's love co-creation. We can't see it because we're limited by our crass senses, our sight, our hearing, our taste, our smell, and so it can only, sense, 0.0004% of the universe, so. Yep, sure. And they're just, kids playing with matches and gasoline, right? When I was at Los Alamos, they had toys of that nature, in the 70s. They had things making antimatter and other really, 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 really exotic things that didn't, couldn't even exist in this, in this reality. They would just kind of leave a little smudge, right? One time, here's a good little story. So one time, I was, at Los Alamos, at San Diego, at Kirkland Air Force Base, and I worked for a company called Dick Powell Electric. They were the most whoop-de-doo electric company. And we did a lot of stuff, but, mostly transmission, high voltage, lots of neon in Las Vegas, a lot of controls. And so that company was just like Grandpa Stoll. There was Grandpa Powell, right? And those 2 guys knew each other, right? So, because in the Colorado Springs experiments, Grandpa Powell worked for Tesla. In New York City, Grandpa Stoll worked for Tesla. So these 2 old guys, and they all had sons who were in their 50s when I showed up in my 20s. And I worked for, they were running the company, but both of those guys hired me to basically take care of their father. And their fathers were still working on exotic things the company did. But they still lost their car keys. In New York, Grandpa's, my main job for working for Mike Stoll was to keep Grandpa Stoll from walking in front of buses. But when I worked for that, I worked on these projects. And when I was at Los Alamos, San Diego, and Kirkland, I was what they called a bench electrician, meaning I didn't bend pipe and put up circuit breaker panels. No, I had an experiment, and they needed a power supply, and it needed to do this, this, and this, right? And they had designed it to do this, and they wanted me to make it, on the bench, test it out, and tweak it so it would get what they wanted, right? So that was my major thing. And sometimes I would interface them into the next step, but I would never see the whole thing. I was definitely in a little box. And I was happy. I was given a lot of toys to play with. I was surrounded by a lot of interesting people. I saw a lot of interesting stuff, and I didn't have to get read in, meaning the first time when I went to Los Alamos, right, showed up, and take a bus there, and it was one of those buses that looked like a Greyhound bus, but it was run by some company, and I was like the only guy on this bus, and the windows were kind of grayed out, but when I got on, it said Greyhound, and when you got on, it kind of looked like a Greyhound bus, but once it got going, not so much. And so I show up at Los Alamos, and it's like a Friday, and nobody's working, at least not that you could see. Los Alamos, a beautiful little town, way up in the mountains. It's really bucolic and very George Jetson. And so, I have this paper, envelope, report to so and so, and get there by 4 p.m. Friday. So I did. I got there because their bus took me straight to that. Got off, walked in, saw the person, and the guy goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, here you are on the list. Oh, yep, here you are. Here, put your thumb. Okay. Oh, yes, your thumbprint is the same." So he goes, "This is 1972." 72. So I was there 18 months in New Mexico, and I got a novel about it. So he takes out like a piece of cardboard, cuts a square out that fits into a plastic thing with a little clip on it, right? And he draws a picture, like a stick figure, right? And he has these stickers. One is a barcode. It's nice. I've never seen a barcode ever. And he puts it on the bottom of the piece of cardboard. And then, one of those little square things with the squiggly stuff that you have no idea, but it's got, quadrillion bits of information in it. He has a sticker and he sticks it there. So the most important thing here is that sticker, the barcode, and my thumbprint. Forget the picture. Like I said, he just drew a stick figure and wrote, in, Sharpie. And it sticks in a plastic thing. Because wherever you're in an area, it says you've got to be wearing your ID. You wear this. And then he hands me a rad badge. And he goes, whenever, every week when you get your paycheck, you turn in the rad badge, right? So I go, okay. And he goes, and you're going to be over at the, Lucky 8 motel over there. And pretty much everything, even though they had Burger King and McDonald's and the Lucky 8 motel and a few other places, they still were run by them, not by the corporate. It said that, so if somebody drove through, it looked like a normal place, but a very nice normal place, right? So anyway, so I get my job, and so I do that, right? And then I go to San Dias. Then I go and work for Dick Powell doing line work and transmission lines. I didn't do the line work. I did the transfer stations with this Mexican crew they were all electrical engineers. They were all really smart, and they could, speak kind of English, but they were great guys. But everybody was like, oh, wetbacks, and all these pinhead white guys who didn't have, an 8th grade education called these PhD, engineer guys, stupid. But we were doing the distribution, right? Transformers, etc. And I love these guys because we would stay at a motel, and wherever the site we were working, it's like 10, 20 miles, maybe more from where we were staying, out there in the middle of nowhere, near Grants, New Mexico. And they would make a dinner of a chicken, and they would stuff it, and they had potatoes and carrots and this and that, and they'd wrap it up in aluminum 4 or 5 times and put it in a little mini fridge. And then when we were about to head off for work, they would take that chicken and take the hood of the truck, open it up, and stick it in the manifold of the engine. And then we would drive off to work, and and they would have a little aluminum box that they would take the meal from yesterday, and they would have this a feel of kind of many layered kind of Greek material, baking stuff that you could make, and they make these like little pitas, and they stuff it with that, and they would make some really strong coffee and put in a couple of thermoses, and then we would head off. And so we'd get there, and we'd have and they would stick this aluminum box again, kind of in the engine right near, the manifold, and it would be unbelievably hot and tasty and yummy, and we'd eat them all except for maybe 10, so that would be our 10 a.m. snack, and we would drink the coffee, and they had spliffs, they had, you know, cigars with little something in them, and we would work, from like, we'd get there around 7, we'd leave the motel still at dark 30, get there at the crack of the light, start getting our, have our little breakfast, start work around 10, take another little break, have, that. And then around 12:30, 1 o'clock, we would have lunch, right? And even the winter in New Mexico, when the sun got hot, it was hot. So we would, take the crane, put it out, put a tarp over it so we wouldn't get baked by the sun. We had these nice full chairs, and we would have a chicken dinner or whatever dinner they made. And that was it. And of all my work for that company, that was the nicest time. Because those guys were great. We did better than anybody else. Our boss would come and go, wow. And he would always say that it was, you're great, But no, there was, all those guys knew they were engineers. They never, they never quite got it over to Dick, because Dick was a dick. Grandpa Powell understood who and what these guys, because he was, he had a little Spanish in him. But Dick didn't. Dick was, Protestant, and white, and was in the Air Force, and so. But Grandpa Powell, so anyway, so I was with those guys. So I was in New Mexico all of 18 months, and I worked for Powell Electric for maybe 13 months, about a year and a month. So I've done all this very interesting stuff, and we work on the Mount Taylor uranium mine, which is the deepest uranium mine in the world, right on the Hopi Most Sacred Mountain. And it's named after Taylor, who was the guy who personified the Indian genocide. But the Hopi call it Snake Goddess, and it says, if you mess with that mountain, it will devour you. And here these guys are drilling straight into it. And yes, they took out a lot of uranium, but what they really did was built the deepest underground dome, deep underground military base. It was underground 3 miles, right? Anyway, so my last gig with them, I was at Kirkland Air Force Base, right? Kind of over near, not in Area 51 or near any of those things, but out near the test range. And we were sent out there, and we were to put about 3 miles of line. The poles were already in, the insulators were there. We were just there to pull the wire and hook it up to a transformer, and hook the transformer up to a switch. And the experiment was in a, container, a tractor container, and it was sitting on a pad that was surrounded by concertina wire and a big fence, and you couldn't get out, right? So, we couldn't touch anything there, and all there was on the other side was a big switch. And what we had to do is run the cable. The transformer was on a pad. We had to wire the transformer, wire the power, and I was there to tune that transformer to, like, when I was the bench electrician, get exactly the kind of current they wanted to go in that switch, right? So we run the line, and I basically and I'm in charge, and so we set up, our base, and we run the wire, and we don't put it in, we don't tie down the insulators. We just hang the wire through the insulators, right? And every 3/4 of a mile, there's a knife switch that at the base of the pole, you can pull it, and it disconnects the line, right? And so if you wanted to, you could disconnect the line. And we had these tools that could grab hot wires. They're made out of fiberglass, so you wouldn't get electrocuted. And you could pull the wires down. So Anyway, as soon as I looked at, what we were supposed to do, I kind of, understood what they wanted that for. North Dublin. Oh, you Irish guys are talking to each other. Uh, oh, I'm sure it's the canary that hits it, and or that yo-yo guy, or the twitchy, not twitchy, excuse me, twitchy, that nerdy vagina. And what woman would call herself nerdy vagina? Anyway, I think all of the trolley guys are basically the canary, but I don't know, But whoever those guys are, um, they sure don't have a life that they are thinking what their life's about. They're more that problem, action, solution kind of character. But anyway, so we get everything wired up, right? And then there's this box I have a key to that says, in the book of the instructions, it said when you're all done, take out that key, break off the little plastic around it, put it in the lock of the box, open it up, and there'll be a book of instructions and a Motorola wireless phone, right? And you need to get done by X time of this date, which was not hard. We really wanted to. We could have gotten everything done in 3 days. They gave us a week, right? So, and they gave us, a nice little trailer out there with full of cigarettes, booze, food, everything you needed to have. So we didn't have to go anywhere once we got there. So those guys pulled the wire, which they did in a day, because they put the big roll right next to the transformer, just kind of pulled it all the way there. They laid it in the insulators, and they had 3 rolls so they could do all at the same time. Boom, 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 And then they hooked it up to the nice switches. That took them another day or so. And then basically they ran off. One of the Mexican guys was with me, and the other 4 guys took off, right? And they went someplace and got drunk, and they took all the booze and went camping, or they had to stay away from anybody, but they didn't have to stay with us. So we hooked up the transformer. We did a continuity test. We energized the transformer. We tuned it, got it to spec, and then hooked it up to the big switch. And then we hung out for a day or two, and then those guys showed up, and, I looked at the watch. It was time, opened the box, got out the phone, got the book. I read the book, and it gave a whole protocol of this experiment, right? Energize the transformer, double check that the current is exactly what it's supposed to be, get on the phone, connect to operations, get everything copacetic with them, run through the checklist. They count down, the countdown, and at 0, you hit the switch, right? So we do all of that. We're on the phone, and it's clear as a bell, right? And the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, hit the switch. We hit the switch, and this sound first comes in our head, and half the guys start throwing up. And then this sound comes over the radio that I can't even get close to my head. And I look over, and there are these doors that popped open the top of the container, and a blue light, a really undescribable kind of blue light. Um, you know, Not blue like that, but deeper, somewhere between that red and this blue was this pencil of light. And it went all the way up to outer space. And you could see it go all the way to outer space. I mean, it didn't, 10 feet didn't, because it was a beautiful sunny day. And that thing was brighter, but blue. It's as dark as, it was like a blue that I'd never seen, right? And you could almost see stars in that blue, right? And those guys are throwing up, and we all had long hair except for the Mexican guy, and our hair is sticking straight up, and it's kind of dancing, and guys are freaking out, and they're seeing stuff, and I'm seeing stuff on the side of my right, and the Mexican guy is like on his knees praying to Jesus. So I'm the only guy, so I pick up the phone, and it's making this sound, but underneath that sound of um, you know, the noise that I can't get close. I hear the guy screaming that he's not louder than that noise. Turn it off! Turn it off! For God's sake, turn it off! Right. So, and people in the back, you can hear them throwing up and crying, and so I hit the switch. The little blue light is still going, right? So I go over to the transformer where we have another kill switch from the high tension lines to the line side of the transformer. I turn that off. So now it's disconnected twice from the device. But I reread those instructions 3 or 4 times, and it says, in case of this, what we're experiencing, the reason why you did not tie down those wires is that you need to drive to where there's 2 knife switches. You can turn them off and pull down the wire for a quarter mile, right? So and it also in the protocol we had 3 vehicles. We had the big truck with the crane and everything. Then we had a middle truck that had all the boxes with stuff in it. Then we had a pickup truck, and it said to keep the pickup truck the furthest away, the closest to the first knife switch, right? So, and so the big truck was about a mile away, and the truck with all the boxes was right there. Get in that truck, hit the switch, doesn't even click. There's not even the click of the solenoid, right? So I look at it, there's like nothing. This is not going to start. So me and all the white guys couldn't move, but the Mexican guy realized that I'm trying to stop this thing. So he gets up from praying to Jesus, and he sees me get in the truck, and he goes, "Doesn't work." I said, "No." He goes, "EMP." And he's right. So this is in the days before computers. I mean, it was just a solenoid, a battery, and a starter, and the spark coil. And it didn't let that work. So we run a mile to the next truck, and it kind of clicks, but it doesn't start. So we run another mile to the big truck with the boom and the crane, and it starts up, right? And we pull that knife switch, and we drive a mile, and we cut the cables up there, right? And we drive a mile, and we cut those, and we pull them because they're not tied down. We pull the wires down, tie it to the back of the truck, and drive until we pulled a quarter mile worth of wires off the poles. And then all of a sudden, the sound in our head, which we're still hearing, stops, right? And we, the little purple light that we could see like 4 miles away, still going straight up into space, is no longer there. So we drive back to where the guys are, and they're like all they're covered in vomit and blood coming out of their eyes and ears and nose. And we don't really want to touch them. And, I sit down, and the Mexican guy goes over to his jacket and pulls out a blunt, and he lights one up and hands it over to me and lights another one up. And we're like, those guys are they can't even get, normally they would want a blunt or get a drink and so, within about 40 minutes, we hear the sound of chopper blades. And Hueys are like, we look over there, and there's about 6 Hueys, not coming like this, but like this, moving as fast as they can. And they come down, and guys jump out in spacesuits and have instruments on long poles, and they're like reading us, right? And then another helicopter lands with medical guys in spacesuits, and a bus shows up, right? And they're cleaning, they're like cutting all those guys, hosing them down, and then they take us off to the side and have us take our clothes off, and they hose us down, and they give us kind of jumpsuits, medical jumpsuits to wear, and they put respirators over us, right? And the guy goes, well, you seem to be okay. These guys are pretty messed up, but I think they'll be okay. I said, what was that? He goes, well, we don't know. It's not, we don't know. We're just here to respond to see if any of you guys survived. We have no idea what that is or what it was doing or what you were doing. And we don't want to know. But get into, all the sick guys were put on stretchers and put in this one bus. And then me and the Mexican guy got into a van and drove. So we were driven to the edge of Kirkland and Area 51, right? And there's this it looks like a nice little public school, but it's a hospital. And it's got a little parking lot, and it's got a landing field, right? And a tarmac. And then the helicopters are there. And there are a couple of, and none of these aircraft have Air Force or any other kind of logo. It's just aluminum or white, right? And so me and the Mexican guy go into what looks like a motel room. Very nice. Couch, right? And it had a record player. That's all it had. And it had some books. Had no television. And they would roll in a very nice dinner, whatever we wanted, he pushed the, I want lobster and steak and this and that. And so they brought it to us, right? And so we were there a day and then another day. And the whole time they're taking our blood and checking us out. And they're saying, oh, you're fine. You'll be out of here in a few days, right? So then we are put in the gymnasium and where the other 6 guys are. And, they look like they've been through hell, but they're okay. They're not bleeding out of any of their orifices anymore. And they look like crap, but, So they started, so what's going on? I said, I have no idea. I said, you guys okay? Yeah, we think they could say that we're okay, but boy, I feel like I've had the worst, the worst of the worst hangover, worst of the worst drug, worst of the worst everything. I said, yeah. So anyway, so we're there a couple more days, and they're still taking our blood. I mean, every day they're taking our blood. And then they start doing cognitive testing and a whole bunch of other testing. And so we're there about a week. And those guys, we're Mexican guy and I are fine. They're okay. They look like they're just getting over the flu. And so we're told that they're going to let us go in a day or two, right? But we're all fine and we're all good. With just a few more tests. And so the next day, they come in and they take us to a conference room where there are a bunch of guys, obviously scientist kind of guys, military kind of guys, and some other kind of guys. And they're all basically wearing suits. Normally the scientist guys have a store, wore their clothes and a white jacket. Military guys' uniforms, and the suits were always in suits. So they were pretty much everybody was in a suit. And again, they're sitting on a table, and they got nice chairs. We're at another table, and we have these envelopes that we, with our names on them, we have to sign that yes, this is me. Open it up, pull it out, read each document where they're reading it out loud, and it's basically a non-disclosure thingamajig, right? But it is not signing on to the National Security Act, right? It's just saying you're not going to talk about this. It's not signing on, because I think if they did that, they'd have certain responsibilities to us, and they didn't want that. They just didn't want us to say anything about this, right? And if we signed all those papers, we would each get a new set of clothes. We don't have to wear these kind of icky jumpsuit medical things. And we would each get $2,500 in cash, and we would each be flown to Vegas, where we would have a week in X, Y, or Z hotel and a booklet of tickets to go see, whoever. at whatever show and have as much room service as we wanted, right? And we could spend that 25. Obviously the $2,500 we're supposed to go gamble away. So, but it was cash, not like So we all signed, and then they rolled these plastic bags, right? And each of us had a name on one of these plastic bags, and they handed it to us. And they wanted us to, we had to take a really good shower before we went to this meeting. And they wanted us to strip down naked and then be like, take a look if we didn't hide anything in any place. And then each of these bags had a different color, leisure suit, polyester leisure suit. And one was brown and yellow and green. So we were Mr. Green, Mr. Yellow, Mr. Purple. That's how we was, the, whatchamacallit, thing for the hotel we were going to stay at said, reservation for Mr. Purple. Anyway, so, I was Mr. Tan, which was a kind of diarrhea kind of color. And anyway, so we all put it on, and as we get on the airplane, that is when they are starting to mess with us. So we're back online here. So, and this plane has no, except, not even a registration number. It's just white and aluminum, and it's a 727. And the 3-engine one, and there is no thing going up the side. We go up the stairs, up through the tail, into the thing, and we get on, and there is taped on over each. We don't sit next to each other. There's enough seats, so we each get like our own seat with 2 or 3 seats between the next guy. And in the seat, there's a box with a bottle of booze, and a nice little aluminum thing with a meal in it, and a porno magazine, right? So we all strap in. The officer of the deck comes in and makes sure we're all strapped in. And he goes, "You guys want ice? I'll be back with the ice bucket and a plastic glass. If you want to drink out of the bottle, go for it." So we take off, and he doesn't even come back with the ice cubes by the time we land in Las Vegas. I don't think that flight was more than 20 minutes. So we land and we pull up to, a Concorde, one of those, little things. And we get off at a gate, right? And I'm wearing my diarrhea colored polyester leisure suit and my, J.C. Penney shoes. And, I got in one pocket over here my reservation for whatever hotel I'm supposed to be going to, my little booklet of shows to go see. And in this one, I got my pocket of 25 Benjamins, right? So we walk out and we all go in different directions, meaning because in our little thing, it says what door to go out. We're not all supposed to go out the same door. We all go out different doors. And I'm walking towards the door I'm supposed to go to, and I decide, you know what? I go into this door that, newspapers, bubble gum, and back there it's got a cowboy shoe and jeans, and over there it's got Tony Lama boots and a cowboy hat. And I go, So I go in there, and in the and I have a beard and pretty long hair. And so I buy all this stuff. I buy Tony, and they have Tony Lama boots, which are usually very expensive. But this place, these are Tony Lama boots because they measure you. These boots, Tony Lama boots, are made for you, not general anybody. Right? But sometimes, and so you have to pay for them before they make them. And cowboy hat, sunglasses, and I buy an electric kind of. I think it was just Bic razors, right, and cream, right. So I go in the men's room, I take everything off, right? Everything, I feel my body says, got any plants on me. And I shave all my hair off, and I shave all my beard off, and I stuff um, the polyester clothes into the bag, my cowboy. No, I don't. I take the garbage bag out, and I find in that another garbage bag, and I throw all that shit in that garbage bag and stuff it at the bottom of the can, and then stuff the bag that was there, having paper towels on top of that, right? And so I put on the jeans, I put on the cowboy shirt, I've shaved my head, I've shaved all the hair off my body. The only time I ever did that, and I put on the cowboy hat, and I put on the sunglasses, and I walk out, and I look up at the thing and find the next airplane leaving that airport to go to New York City. It's like on whatever airline it was. And I go over there. I want to get a one way from here to New York at the next flight. And they go, oh, that's in about 40 minutes, and that'll be $32. I said, okay, here's $32. That was like I got from buying all the cowboy stuff. I had change of about 50, and I get on the plane, right, and I fly from Las Vegas to New York, and I actually think I got a first class seat. I had a nice meal, a couple of drinks. It took about 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. It was a one-way flight. I mean, we didn't stop anywhere. Got off at Kennedy and took a cab into New York and went to my friend down in the Lower East Side, and you know, it was like I was never gone. No one missed me, and I had about $2,300 in my pocket, right? And I acted like I never, ever did that, right? And I am sure the way that was set up and why I did what I did was I got this really bad feeling that we were all going to die, and that someone would say so. You go up to Mr. Green's room, knock on the door. That guy would open it. They'd have a TV camera in there to know that he was in there, what he was doing. He'd answer it, make sure that nobody was in that room, and they would put a bullet between the eyes with a silencer, right? And they'd all be in different hotels. And I don't think any Las Vegas cop would put it together that all these people were named different colors. So, and it was only 6 or 7 of them. So Las Vegas is a pretty big town. If they didn't get nabbed and taken out to the desert, right? So I wasn't going to leave that airport. I just got on an airplane and went to New York, and didn't make hustle bustle talk about it until about now. And that 73, that's a few years ago. So I'm sure they're not going to care. And so that was one of the more interesting things I said. So let's see what you guys are saying here. And so that's why I'm going on about, piety and integrity of the soul, because that uses different accents and deletes comments that to his disgusting videos. Yeah. So I don't even go look at that guy's place. I mean, why would I? Exactly. What kind of stuff was I saying, right? And this was 1973. So they had stuff, that were more exotic than what is advertised. Like the big super duper triangles that are size of, you know, um, football fields. That is part of what is known as, um, Space Force, or what do they call it? You know, um, David Wilcox and Corey Gray talk about it, and they've been having, the Nazis were out in space in the 1930s, and that crew that were in California in the 1790s, had flying, anti-gravity devices. They called them lighter than airships, but they weren't balloons. Uh, who is that? Yep. So that's why I think Yo-Yo, or you, is, the, Canary Man, because that same guy tells the Canary Man how great his shows are. When he did that show on getting all of that, plastic food delivered to his front door, um, the canary, the yo-yo guy and the vaginal nerd said how brilliant the Canary Man was. Uh, and I tried to get the guy, because a lot of people have come on the channel who had a little bit of an edge, and I didn't block them because I could sense they were okay. They just, had issues, and the cadre is the cadre that brings everyone together as a chorus, no matter how we sing. Uh, no, it was no malfunction. Whatever this test was, they were doing it on purpose. Uh, oh, it was beyond weaponizing sound. Sound was just a byproduct of whatever this thing was. This thing was a multi-dimensional um, power source. 1972 or three, But don't believe anything I say. Yeah. Well, I do repeat a little bit. Well, let's see. What time is it now? 2:23. I'm gonna, maybe tomorrow I'll tell that the dean. Uh, and one man's magic is another man's science. And Majestic 12 is the working group that oversees all this stuff. And when I was working at all those places, I stumble across documents that were, they had, secret, personal secret, top secret, above top secret, and then cosmic and this and that. And then the most highest was magic. So, uh, any takers? Any more likes? Yep. I mean, it's obvious that the powers that shouldn't be are keeping this show under wraps, because you look at, the show that within the first 20 seconds, 1 million people watch, and what are they talking about? The color of their socks or the new hair bleach they're using, How many people tell these stories? Yeah, it's one more like one. See, there we go. One more like. So there's research. Hey, research. Good to see you, buddy. Uh, uh, if you go back a few things, the thing is up there. But, I just blocked him. And a number of people told me, this guy's nuts. He's like, really saying foul and terrible things. So why would I even want to look at somebody go there? And it's either the canary or there are other people who are that damaged. I mean, a lot of people, so I know a lot of people, right? And I don't really block anyone. So over the years, I've had loads of friends that are damaged, right? And people would say, why do you hang out with that person? They're really disgusting. They're terrible. I can't stand them. Well, they all had their redeeming characters, right? And the only, of all of those people, the only people who did not respond, um, and I would say I have had hundreds of people who fit, over the last 70 years that fit this category of people, but they judge them to the point, how can you be with that person, right? Well, they all have redeeming characteristics, right? Except two. And the two that did not have the redeeming characteristics was the canary. And he does have a sweet side to him way inside, but he is so let his twistedness get a hold of him that sweet, nice side doesn't show up too often, right? And it doesn't stick around because basically we are constantly been bombarded by really icky stuff, right? If you let it get in your head, that's when you can, that's when people get psychotic and sociopathic and neurotic and all of those things that are in the DMS. So basically, how I constantly try to tell people is like good thoughts bring good words, bring good actions, which bring good deeds, which bring good outcomes. And that's how I roll. My thoughts are always good, positive. You know, if it's whatever it is, I look for the best part of whatever it is. Like I think I told you a couple weeks ago, I was on a back highway and I ran over a piece of metal. I'm lucky I can see well enough to drive. I didn't see a little piece of metal on the highway that was the same color. Went over it, tore a hole in my tire, and I was doing about 60, and within about 2 minutes, you know, that tire failed catastrophically to the point where it took out the other tire in the rear end of my car, right? So it was about 10 in the morning. I was out in the middle of nowhere. My cell phone didn't, forget bars. And there was no one on the highway, right? And I said to myself, it's a beautiful day. It's about 7. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. I came to a stop on the side of the road with a lot of space. It's black top, and there's a tree overhead. So no matter how long I'm out here, I won't be barbecued, or the car won't be barbecued by the sun. It's like in August-ish, or maybe early September. And so no one's coming by. So I kind of lean against my car and start praying, right? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. As it was in the beginning. And as I'm getting towards the end, the road is like this. It's a new road. It's like the new bypass. So it's like a 4-lane highway, but 2 lanes are really wide. And then instead of stones, the pull-off side is paved. So one day they know that one day this road's going to be busy. And so anyway, I'm at a level place and I'm at the highest place. So I can see cars coming from 3 or 4 miles away. They come up, get on top of the hill, and then they go away, come up. And every time it goes down, there's a road where so I see this kind of thing coming. The only car, and it's got its lights on, and it's got a little yellow flashy light on it, right? And so it's coming towards me. And it's now coming up, and I see it, and it's one of those tilty car things. Instead of a tow truck, it kind of pulls your car up there. So the guy's coming to me, and I'm like waving, and you can see the tires, the rubbers, up there. And so the guy slows down, and as he slows down, he goes by, and it says Firestone on the side, right? So he pulls up in front of me, gets out, and he goes, looks at me, says, "You got a problem?" I said, "Oh yeah, man, that's great. You're Firestone, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, all of my tires have road hazard." "Oh," he goes, "Oh, you do? So what's your name?" Puts it in. He's got his little computer that goes up to the satellite, and he's, "Oh yeah, there you are. Yeah, those tires are actually covered. And by the way, because you have severe damage, this insurance will take care of fixing everything." I go, "Wow." He goes, "It'll even take care of the tow cost for 60 miles, right?" So I said, "Oh, great." So he goes, "Okay, let's get this thing up on your car." So he does, kind of pulls it up there. And he's got this little roller skate thing he puts underneath the two bare drums and like attaches them, so because I have no tires. And so he pulls it up there. He puts me in, and he's got like, a thing on his little pad where he starts the mileage, right? So we get on and we go through the town and we get on the interstate. And at a certain point, we go past where it says, "Okay," and he starts the clicker. And I said, "Well, we've already driven about 50 miles. He goes, "Yeah, but if I started way back there, we'd have to charge you $100. But because I started here, it's part of your car insurance, your tire road hazard." So he takes me in there, right? Gets it off the thing, puts it up on the lift, and then about 10, I seek down. Actually, I did a live chat with the guys, and so I call my sister, and I'm looking at this, that, the other thing, seeing what I'm going to talk about, and the guy comes to me and goes, "Well, we got you covered, and it's your lucky day because normally this is the only Firestone within 300 miles, so we're always busy, busy, busy. But today we have no reservations, so we can take care of your call. Normally it might take a day or two, but we can have you out in a couple of hours." And he goes, "Not only that, because of what happened, we have all these coupons, so we can change your oil, change your filter, change your fluid in your radiator. We can change the fluid in your automatic transmission. You check everything about your car out, give you a full top to turn." Anyway, I said, "How much is that going to cost?" He goes, $17. And I said, "Well, if I didn't have that, road hazard insurance, how much would it cost?" $1,300. I got $1,300 worth of stuff for $17. Now that's what you get when you have good thoughts, good words, good actions, good deeds, good outcomes. Right? Now, if I was cursing God and when I couldn't get a signal, threw down my phone and broke it, I had done all of those things, I'd still be beside the road. So, fair play. Yep. Yeah, the Muppet is blocked. Right. So, it's it's what it is, right? And that so that's why I don't even care about trolls, because the folks who come up and are a little rough, well, if we give them love, they'll return the love, and it'll help them, right? And they will become the best they can be, and that's why I'm not. People, well, you only have 351 subscribers, and I go, "No, I don't. I have 351 adepts, a cadre, right? A chorus. The chorus is usually only all 351 don't sing every time I do a show, but that's neither here nor there. They actually do watch it. Like I'm amazed how many people watch it. Who get a hold of me at Gmail and say, "Oh, I watch you all the time. So why don't you come on the?" "Oh, I know." Anyway, so more subscribers, more bells ringing, more thumbs up. Anybody wants to get a hold of me at Gmail, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Anybody wants to drop something in my PayPal, it's there. Um, and that's an hour, 25 minutes, and it's 2:35. Let's see. Okay, the college story I'll tell. I'll tell some more stories tomorrow. I'm going to be someplace that I can go on chat, and it'll be somewhere between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So research, I'll try and give you a call today or tomorrow. And what else can I say? I love you all. My voice is getting a little rough, but let's see. Hour 20, so another 5-10 minutes. So give me some questions. I'll answer. I'll tell you no lies. Don't believe anything I say. Again, anybody wants to come and get. I mean, it's going to get colder than this. And boy, what I love it is somebody just came and got me, and we went down south. Went to Georgia, went to Florida, went to New Orleans. When you guys like to go to New Orleans? I got some friends in New Orleans. We can stay for Mardi Gras. Go to Texas. I got friends in Texas. Go to New Mexico. Got a lot of friends from New Mexico. Then go over to California. Go up the coast. Oregon, Washington. Go across to Chicago. And the whole time we could be doing this, right? And start a blog, start a website where we interest colleges to pay us $5,000 for a weekend to entertain their students. Those student activity fees, they really need. We could put together a good curriculum. Okay. So when it hits 1:30, if you haven't asked me any questions, because I'm getting a little hot here, and I want to get back and do some things while the sun is still in my neck. Because as soon as that sun goes behind the hill, it gets cold, even if the sun is up. Last night, the sun went down around 7:30. So tonight, the sun will probably go down around 6:30. The sun will go off my patch around 4:30. So, any questions? Graham, what you talking about fair play? The Muppet is blocked. Does that mean no one can see the site, or you just can't drop him a message? Anyway, I'm pretty much an open book. You see what you get, So, and I'm so old. I have no testosterone. I believe every human being is a soul, not a girl soul or a boy soul, but a soul, and every soul is worth loving. Now, the psyche is a different story because the psyche is not part of the soul. It's part of it's the veneer of the ugly bag of water. So that veneer can reflect the trauma of that avatar, or it can reflect the beauty of the soul, one or the other, right? And I'm always looking at the beauty of the soul. So even people who are severely damaged and toxic, their soul is still beautiful. So when I see them, I try to lead by example to help them find their way out of the darkness into the beauty of love's co-creation. That is part of their soul. Okay. So I think I'm going to leave now because it says that unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. Okay. Okay, there you are. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, this is your Sensei Al Bob, your griot from channel Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Don't believe anything I say. More thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell button, get a hold of me at the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Go to xratted.blogspot.com and go look at Griot Publishing, Griotte Publishing. In the next few weeks, I've been working on 4 novels. I got the, Hot Pants Black Widow about finished, rough editing, something that you guys could read. I did put up the first third, but I've edited even that. So, in about 2 or 3 weeks, I will have about somewhere between 400 and 500 pages of that novel ready for you to read and give me response. I need response. I need feedback. Okay, gang. I love you guys. Stay in touch.